responsible for what I can control. So doing so, I said, okay, I need to build my toolkit. And I call it Toolkit. Just like, the carpenter that goes into building and has the tools and put nails and things into the belt is the same. So one of the best toolkits that I could build to me was how to communicate. And then understanding what is the audience, how are you passing the message. And then once I understood that, little things like be present in the moment, like I have, and I'm sure you do too, 100 million times to do right now. But there is nothing more important to me right now than being here with you.
In every single interaction, there comes a moment when we wonder, do you see me? Do you hear me? Welcome to the Hearth To Heart podcast. I'm your host, Gayathri Shukla, and I'm the founder of Campfire Kinship, an organization building inclusive cultures through storytelling. This season is about exploring something that is core to being human, and that is our need to belong. So imagine gathering around a campfire with stories reaching your heart. I am partnering with CJSW 90.9 and recording in Mckinsis or Calgary, a sacred place where the Bow and Elbow Rivers meet, and home to Blackfoot Confederacy, Tsuut'ina, Stoney Nakoda Nations, Métis Nation, and all residents of Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hearth To Heart, the podcast where we unlock the power of empathy one story at a time. I'm your host, Gayathri Shukla, and this season, we're diving into the theme of belonging. Today, we have a very special episode focused on navigating a sense of belonging in male-dominated workplaces. Many women in fields like engineering face unique challenges, from underpayment and overwork to the struggle for recognition and community. These challenges make it difficult to find our sense of belonging. How do we navigate these obstacles and create a workplace where everyone feels valued and included? To help us explore this topic, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Monica, who has over 20 years of experience in engineering and 12 years in leadership. She built Infinity Growth from the ground up, determined to create a workplace where everyone is valued equally. Monica is also the host of the podcast Materials.Business, which I've had a chance to tune into, an amazing podcast. She shares her inspiring story and empowers women in STEM and beyond to overcome obstacles, reclaim their worth, and embrace their infinite potential. Monica has also overcome several obstacles, and she is a vocal advocate for diversity, inclusion, and the power of self-care, using her voice to inspire change and uplift others. Monica, welcome to the show. Would you like to introduce yourself through your story for our listeners?
For sure. Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's amazing to connect with people that connect through the heart. And that is, I guess, the last 5 years of my life have been extreme self-discovery, like never before. So when I am asked to introduce myself, I always say, normally people will go, hi, my name is Monica and I am an engineer. And my story is much more than that, because we wear several hats. So I'm not only an engineer, I am also an entrepreneur. I'm an immigrant. I am a mom. I am a sister. I am a partner. I am a leader. And all those little pieces make the whole person that Monica is. One of the things that I've discovered in the last 5 years of my life is that once you have that sense of this is what I want to be, this is what I want to project, and you go after it with all you have, everything starts to vibrate in that energy, and magical things happen. Like today, I am here today because I had a conversation with someone that introduced me and you, and then we had a pre-call, and then here we are in this amazing studio. So in a nutshell is I am a lot of things, and one of my staple sentences is we come to this earth to learn, and based on that my life vibrates.
Oh, I love that so much. And thank you for sharing your story from your heart. I really felt that. And you're right, being in the studio in person and recording this in this beautiful space is part of that energy and that vibration. And I also believe that, call it serendipity or coincidence, but we attract those types of people in our life that we are meant to attract, and we're meant to be ourselves. And I'm just so honored that I had the pleasure of meeting you over that call, and here we are. And I also think you and I both connected on so many shared parallels, right? I'm also a mother, a daughter, a sister, a partner. I wear all of those hats, an engineer, entrepreneur. And I know that there's so many parallels that we have because our journey, even though our journeys were in different places, it still took similar turns. And so I was curious if you wanted to share a little bit more about how that journey really was like for you in engineering and your thoughts around navigating sort of that male-dominated space.
I've been in engineering for over 20 years. So this is going to be my 22nd year now that I think of.
Wow,
and
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And, when people ask me, why did you start with engineering? And my best answer is always because I like to solve problems. And then that was my motivation. I was really good at science. But the one thing that I liked the most was solving problems. And then when I found that we can solve problems by being engineers, I said, okay, let's give it a try. And that's how I started that journey. But then I went into a very niche area. I am a metallurgical engineer. So there were not many. We were 10 in our class, and I was the only female. And for the most part, at the beginning, I guess, at least the students that were with me in classes, it was very friendly and then accepted. But then I became one of them. I lost that femininity, or it was like, I remember for one of, we celebrate International Women's Day, and then the guys are saying, I was saying to them, all of the other, like environmental engineering or physical education, whatever, in the campus, they were giving gifts to the girls. And I was like, where is my gift? Where is my rose? And they were like, what are you talking about? You're one of us.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't thought about that. I was like, oh yeah, I'm one of yours. Okay, then I don't get a rose. It's okay. And I never asked for a rose ever. But then a lot of things also, when I think about my journey as a student, were really wrong. I had this one teacher that came into the class, and then for the first time, I think ever, in that particular class, there were two girls, one other girl and I. And the teacher comes, and he's, that 60-some years old, PhD, whatever guy, and you're like, so much respect for this person. And then he starts the class, and he's like, oh, there is two ladies in the class. I think you're wrong. Like, the cooking classes are in the other building. And everyone laughs at you, and you're like, you don't know how to react, right? It was 17 or 6. I entered university very young. I was 16 when I started the university. So must have been like 17, 18 when that teacher said that. And you don't have the tools to do anything. And
you're just in shock, right? Does this person just say that?
And you're like, oh, yeah, well, no, but I have my right to be here because I want to be here, and I'm good at too. Like, I had the best grades of the class. So I'm earning it, but you have to defend that point. Why are you worth of this place? And nobody else was asked that. And then you looked around, and people laugh because they're laughing with you, right? That's what they say. We're laughing with you. It's okay, it's a joke. But then those become, and now that I think of that, it is, have not I had the personality, I guess, and the drive to say, well, whatever, just next. It wouldn't be, I just left the campus.
Yeah, because that moment on its own could have been enough to like question, do I belong here? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Plus, it teaches when someone from higher authority imports all those comments, it teaches everyone else how to treat you. So that was that. I also had the teacher that was 60 some years old, and then after one of my presentations, I was taking all my material down, and he closed the door and he said to me, let's go to a bar and discuss your notes, and let's go to check your grades. And I was very unprepared for any of that. And the only thing I could say to him at that time was, you could be my grandfather. Aren't you ashamed of what you're doing? And then I became extremely aggressive because I found if I don't defend myself, I'm going to be eaten alive. So I had that. Everyone knew that the metallurgical engineer in that grade, the only female, she was very, very angry. But nobody asked why. Yeah. So that was as a student. And so I graduated, and it was like, oh, great, fantastic. And then I immigrated to Canada. And I said, okay, in Canada, they have all figured it out. it's a first world country.
Yeah, first world country, gender equality is all solved.
Oh, gosh. And then I started working, and I was in the field for a long time. Like the first probably 12 years of my career were in the field. So I was in many, many places. I was the only one and the first one. So still I had to protect myself, and I had to, become it. You have to, again, lose that. And then it's very interesting because the mentors that are supposed to help you, they want you to get in that. So I think like when when the kids are little, my son had this little, so it has triangle, very basic, triangle and a circle and a square. And he wants to put the circle in the square. It doesn't go. Yeah. But he is frustrated and he needs to go. And then I felt like the circle that needed to fit in the square. So someone just hammered me into that form, right? And I was really good at the technical because I spent a lot of time in the field. And I loved learning. I loved going into the vessels and touching the corrosion. It's like nobody can tell me how the smell of the corrosion is because I know how is it. But then, as I escalated in my career, I started realizing the same problems that I had when I was a student were still the same here, just in a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So it just carries on. And, for example, I was underpaid. And when I got to leadership, I understood how that happens. And one time I was hiring for a position, and the successful candidate was a female. And she asked for, I don't recall, let's say she asked for 100,000. And I knew that we could give her more money because the other person that was doing the same job was a male, and he was earning 120. So I said, well, we'll give her 120 because it's just what it's supposed to be, right? They're going to be doing the same job. And they told me, but she only asked for 100. And I said, well, yeah, but it is not right. The other person earns 120 and it's a male. So why do we going to give her less? And I had to fight for that.
And did they actually have a reason or a justification for that?
Because she didn't ask for more.
Oh, she didn't ask. Wow.
She asked for 100.
So they expected her to be the one.
Yeah.
To self-negotiate.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So that was like, oh, wow. So then at that moment, I started to think of, then how much am I am underpaid compared to my male colleagues.
Because the flip side of that is if you did ask for a promotion or to be paid equally, then you're seen as the troublemaker, right? Like, be grateful for what you have.
Absolutely.
Right? Why are you asking for more?
And they tell you that over and over. So, well, that was something that I said, okay, maybe I need to start looking into that. And then I went and checked on conditions and things. And sure enough, right? But then also there was other types of harassment, or I guess in this world there is only two different things, and I don't think I am the only one. It's just I'm very vocal, and I am at a point that I don't care what people really think on what I say because I know that is truth, and I'm not the only one. I have many girls coming into the podcast, and it's sad to me. One of them said the other day, it is not when. It is not if it's going to happen, it is when it is going to happen. And you and I understand that this is either sexual harassment or harassment in another, because there is nothing in between. Either they want to sleep with you or they think you don't belong there and you need to go to the kitchen like my teacher. And nothing in between, right? So it is, sometimes it is extremely lonely and you feel very crushed. So I guess that has been all the struggles. And as I said, I don't think I am the only one. So what did I do on the flip side is I always think I am responsible for what I can control. So doing so, I said, okay, I need to build my toolkit, and I call it Toolkit. Just like, the carpenter that goes into building and has the tools and put nails and things into the belt is the same. So one of the best toolkits that I could build to me was how to communicate. And then understanding what is the audience, how are you passing the message. And then once I understood that, little things like be present in the moment, like I have, and I'm sure you do too, 100 million times to do right now. But there is nothing more important to me right now than being here with you. So
I just got goosebumps as you said that, because that was the exact same thought in my head this morning as I was driving here of my to-do list of all of the things to do. And I also feel there's nothing more important right now than creating the space in this container to share your story, right?
Totally, it is. But once you give yourself the permission to be in the moment, a lot of things get clarity. But sometimes we can't because it is so busy in our minds. So we need to declutter and then silence and then think for a bit before we react. So that connection is absolutely important. So that's the next. So I learned self-care because my body told me, you're not listening to me. I'm going to make you listen to me.
Bodies have a way of doing that.
Fantastically so, because we are not listening. So we need to stop and then, take into consideration that Monica can be any of the things that I said if Monica is sick. And you don't realize that, I value more health than life. If I die tomorrow, I die. But if I am in a bed tomorrow, it's terrible because you feel like a prisoner of your body. Your mind's still active, you still have all the energy, but your body don't respond. And it's because you have neglected it for so many time, so many years, it doesn't happen overnight. And it's just like one of those control things in the control rooms that operators is like the thing is bleeping because it's going above the level and they just turn it off. Yeah. So so those three things I learned is communicate better, self-care above everything, and then the last thing that I didn't touch before is making boundaries. Once you understand that and then you're living in the moment and to self-care, then you can make boundaries, and then that is how you are a foundation, how you're building a foundation that is strong for anything. So those were the things that helped me. However, in the podcast, when I speak with my guests, indirectly, all of them find ways to thrive in this world and to go and do things amazingly. And a lot of people have amazing supporters. That's one of the motivations. But a lot of people also needed to build something that nobody teaches you. You have to go inside of you and find what is it that I'm going to do for my highest best.
There's so many pearls of wisdom that you shared.
Thank
Monica,
you.
truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing those. And I am just in awe. And, I can't even imagine the level of hardships you had to go through. Not only did you through the education process, but then immigration. And, having published a book on the stories of immigrant women, I fully understand the depth of these struggles, right? And it's not easy to move to a new country and start over again and have to prove your credentials, and then to discover that still gender inequity exists in just a different way or different subtlety to it, but it's still there. The system is set up to almost like fail someone. And how is this fair, especially when we look at women and we tell them, you just have to fit in. You just have to use your voice. You just have to be more assertive. That's like, to your point, trying to fix the individual versus looking at the culture and the structure more broadly and saying, what's going on here? And my focus has also been trying to figure out that systemic solution when I work with organizations, that I really try and consult and advise them around finding those systemic barriers and addressing those versus just looking at the individual and trying to fix the individual, right? And so I was curious if you could share a little bit around those 3 strategies that you mentioned: communication, self-care, and boundaries, and where you see maybe where the individual can do things versus, let's say there's an organization and a leader who's listening to this, what they may be able to do.
As a leader, you have a lot of responsibility. And my first coach in leadership, she told me, once you step into that realm, it's a whole different game. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm really good at doing my corrosion studies. Like, you can tell me. You can tell me that this is harder. And it's really more. You need a complete different set of skills. So the first person that you need to lead is you. So as a leader, how can you lead better? Be better. You want to have boundaries? Create boundaries. You want to respect people, or that people respect others? Well, respect them. You want to pay equally, pay yourself equally, and then ask for your rights before anything. So I always believe that sometimes we try so hard to make people see what we see. And for some people, like I have this ginger tea here, it can be orange, but you might have a colorblind person that looks at it and it's like brownish or something else. Yeah. So you can't make people look things from your eyes, because the only one that has those eyes, those experiences, those feelings, that heart is you. Mm-hmm. But you can be your best version. So as a leader, how can you? Well, start with you. Start self-caring for you. Like it's like if you go to a doctor and the doctor is smoking, yeah. Right? Like in our childhood, I probably those doctors like,
yeah. Don't do as I do as I say.
Exactly. Mate, smoking is really bad for you, and he's smoking, and you're like, okay. So, and it's the same with your children. You want your children to be not to rob. Well, then don't rob. Be honest. Yeah. Why are you lying to me? Well, maybe are you lying to them? The world is a reflection. Yeah. So what can you do as a leader? Be that leader. Be that person. Be that leader that you didn't have. So create things, and many things don't exist. And it doesn't mean that they're not meant to exist. We are here in a space that didn't exist before. And we created it because you and I believe that it should be something different. Yeah. You and I believe that this can be a better world. That if someone is listening to this and they're having a bad day, they're like, oh, man, that's good. But more than that is because it makes us vibrate in that energy. Mm-hmm. We are being what we want to see. Lots of people want someone else to do things. Sustainability. Everyone wants a better world. Well, yeah, what are you doing? Yeah. So start by you. Start by being that person that you wanted to have.
I love that. Yeah. Oh, there's so much. I mean, even when I think back to my engineering career and I think to the coping strategies that I adopted, very similar to you. I used to work in a control room. I'm a process control engineer. So I was smiling when you shared the example of the operator ignoring the alarm that's coming in. Put that on bypass, right?
I know, right? It's like, okay.
But it's true. And if we continue doing that to our own bodies, ignoring the alarms, ignoring the signals, then it's ultimately we're going to be the ones that suffer from that, right? And so that self-care piece is so important. But I love your take on, as a leader too, this is about looking in the mirror and reflecting and seeing what it is that you're doing that you hope to lead by example. And if you have poor boundaries, if you're telling your team, you can go home at 5 and if I email you at 10 p.m., that's okay. That's just, sure. But as a leader, you still have that impact, right? You still have your people thinking or wondering, well, if they're emailing at this time, maybe I should respond. And so all of those little things, I say they're little, but they're actually big things. And I think that truly does impact the culture.
I think so. And I think cumulative small things become big.
Mm-hmm.
And just like your children and my child is a reflection of who I am, your team is a reflection of who you are. So have you ever go to, I don't know, for example, I took my child to the children's one day because he was sick. And the nurse that took us in, she was so empathetic and so nice. Oh, you're feeling feverish and you're feeling ache here. And oh, I'm so sorry, buddy. And all those little things that. And then I went myself to the normal hospital for adults. Why are you here? Since when the fever? 3 days only?
Why are you here?
Yeah. Didn't you call your family doctor? You don't have a family doctor. So where is the disconnection? So it's a reflection of your team is a reflection of you as a leader. So if you're a leader listening today, one of the things that made my shift quickly is know that people that work with you are going to talk about you at dinner tonight. How do you want that conversation to be? And that is when you put that into sense, is like I have a team of 10 people. If you say, okay, everyone has in their families at least another one, so it's like 20 people talking about you at dinner tonight. How do you want that conversation to be? I love working with Monica, or I hate my job, like 80% of people.
What a powerful question.
It's a big responsibility.
Big responsibility. And to remember, too, that dinner table conversation may involve that person's family, their children, and this is what their children are hearing about you and forming their worldview as to how people really work in the work world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it impacts those little ones.
Totally
so we are asking ourselves, why don't we have more female engineers working in engineering? Well, because those girls come home and they're crushed, and the dinner table conversations are not very enthusiastic.
Yeah, of course. And I think about my daughter, and I think the number of times when I've had I don't know what impression that's left on her, but she may be going, well, I don't want to be in the same career profession as mom because it sounds like it's pretty bad being an engineer, right? And
absolutely.
Yeah, and then we ask the question, how come more females are not enrolling? Well, these are the impressions that are getting imprinted early on, right? Yeah.
So you might not think you have a responsibility, but as a leader, I read the other day one quote, and it's like, you have more impact in the mental health of your team than anything.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
So definitely there is a lot of things to think about on the impact. And if you're not for it, don't take that role. Yeah. Don't take that leadership role. If talking to people is not your thing, if you get bored because they tell you about the little kid graduating of kindergarten, for them it's big. But if you're not in that position, which is okay, don't take that leadership role, because one of the biggest mistakes our industry does is the best engineer, the best technical person gets promoted with no tools. For managing people. So I remember my first week as a leader, I was like, oh heck, I got the promotion, I got what I wanted, fantastic. And then people started coming to me, not talking about technical at all, but it was problems in their lives. And I was like, oh my God. Or complaining about the client doesn't do that. And so it was all human problems, and I wasn't prepared for that. I had to take a really quick and advanced toolkit to myself to be able to lead the way I wanted.
Mm-hmm. And if one of your tools in the past had been coping through becoming a technical expert, because I know for me that was my coping mechanism, because people rightly or wrongly advised me when I entered the profession up in Fort McMurray. That was my first job in the field. That just put your head down, get the work done, right? Get a thick skin. That was the advice I was always given. And I ended up following that to a point where I was really good at my technical job. Like, I would be the one that control room operators that call at 4 a.m, right? When something trips in the plant. And that's all I did was technical. And I thought that that would be my protective shield from people questioning my competence or doubting if I have what it takes. I just thought I'd be really good at technical. And so that exact transition, when I moved into a leadership role, I was totally unprepared. And then I was like, well, who am I if I'm not supposed to be talking technical? And then what happens to now the new set of biases that come with being a leader, a female leader in a male-dominated profession, right? If they don't care about my technical knowledge. And there's so much self-work that I think needs to happen, to your point. Like, as a leader, you have to reflect. There's so much of your own traumas, I think, that you have to heal. So it's a layer deeper and deeper. And I'm still peeling back these layers, right?
I think that's the whole purpose of life, just discovering. And that's why, my company is called Infinity Growth. And I think it wasn't thought at the time, but now it is absolutely. That is like, we need to peel and peel and peel. And it's just, when you become a leader, then you start to give all those. It's just like if you become a parent, as you don't want to transfer that trauma or that whatever happened to you, and you want to make it better for them. It's the same with when you're a leader, a true leader, because we have many leaders. We have many managers.
You don't need another one.
Yeah.
We need a leader, a self-leader too. Monica, I'd love to hear about your transition to entrepreneurship. And I've been browsing your website on Infinity Growth. I love that you bring in that leadership and to your background as a metallurgical engineer as well. So tell me more about how that journey evolved for you.
I was just tired of everything, all the biases and the underpayment, and then the great ideas, because I'm very creative. So I came all super with my smile, right? Oh, I have that idea. And they quickly shut it down because it's not billable work, or we don't do that. So the opportunity to make a real impact wasn't there. And I could have progressed more in the corporate world, but I didn't want to do it in their terms, because those terms to me weren't what I was striving with. And weren't giving people what they deserve. So it was very interesting. I quit. I went to the John Maxwell leadership training, and it was a room full of people wanting to be better leaders. And I'm like, oh, I belong here. Talking about belonging, right? Like, wow, that's my tribe. Oh, gosh, because none of them were a lot of them were technical, but there is many different backgrounds. And that's what you find when you are in these industries where there is only one certain type of prototype that fits in, and everyone that's a female or has color in their skin or is shorter or is biggie or is chubby or it doesn't speaks with accent doesn't belong here. Well, there it was so different. So I was like, okay. And then I started in that I could do everything that I wanted to do. And I just came back and quit. And I started the company, and it was nerve-wracking because I've been 17 years with paychecks. All of a sudden, I didn't have one. I was like, but I had an absolute inner knowledge that that is what I wanted to do. And for once in my life at that point, I did it. You know how they say, and they told that in the training when I went to John Maxwell, they said, jump the cliff and build your wings on the way down.
Isn't that
and I'm like,
is?
That man, that's not what I'm gonna do. And I came back and I did it. And then I was like, oh my God, the wings are not developing fast enough. Hello.
I hope I don't crash.
But I had that, I don't know how to describe it, but absolute belief that I will do well. I doubt it absolutely, because having a cushion every 2 weeks or every month that you know that you can pay your mortgage off, but not having it was a different story. But I can tell you today, with my heart in my hand. I don't know if we say that in English. In Spanish sounds very pretty.
Heart in my hand, heart, mind, sleeve.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know, but I can tell you today that every decision or the best things in my life had happened outside of my comfort zone. All of them. So that challenge to me was like, I like challenges, right? I like solving problems. I like challenges. It's like, this is just another challenge. Am I going to do it? I'm going to crash it for sure. Because the teacher told me to go to the kitchen now, because I believe in me. Because I am absolutely sure that I'm going to pull it off. So that was how it all started. And then a lot of people still have technically that, but we bring all that other side. Okay, I'm going to give you a proposal for a technical job, but I'm going to make sure that what you want to have is what you need, instead of just giving you a proposal to win the job and then do a crap job, which happens a lot in industry. So everyone that works with me, not only my team, but my clients, other contractors, engineering companies, whatever, that is one of the things that I am very proud of, is we come and then there is this sense of, okay, we can't rest because Monica is managing it. So it's fine.
You know, when you shared that belief at that moment that you were about to quit your job and launch into your business, that absolute belief that you're going to make it, even though it's this wild, scary thing that's totally outside your comfort zone, I 100% relate to that. And it's not, you know, I had this image in my own mind when I was transitioning out of my full-time career to entrepreneurship too, of just how proud my younger self is in that moment.
Oh, I love that.
Because I finally get to be true to myself, and I finally get to say I belong. I'm not waiting for permission. I'm not waiting for someone else to see my worth or give me the opportunity that I know I'm more than deserving and more than capable of. I will do that for me. And that sense of empowerment, it's so hard to put it in words, but I just wanted to say, like, I appreciate you for sharing that, because I think that's the message that women need to hear too, is you are enough. And your dreams and your goals and your beliefs and your truth is worthy. And never try to diminish your own spark because someone else doesn't think that you deserve it, right?
Absolutely. And it's so empowering to you to, like, now that you say my younger self will be very proud, and then yourself now is proud of everything that has been accomplished and all the layers that you have healed. Because all those little things leave scars, and then you have to at some point in your life go and correct that or make peace with it, I guess. And then make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing and when you're thriving. And if you're studying, I don't know, if you studied engineering and then you discover that you want to paint, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I remember when I left Shell, I was in Formac too. And I resigned to Shell, and then I came into Calgary to do engineering. But the ambience was very toxic. So when I left, everyone was like, "Oh, but the bonus, and you know,
that's what they call the golden handcuffs, right?"
Yeah, the bonus and this and that, and I'm like, I don't care about it. It's like, if I'm not happy, I won't be there. And that is something that I have all my life. Is like, and I say it. I have mentees. I have right now, I'm one mentee here and one in Montreal. And the other day we were having this conversation, and she is so afraid of being into industry. She wants to pursue education, but she doesn't really know how and why and all that. And I said to her, well, what's the matter? You can just pause for a little bit, go and experience something different. If you don't like it, go back. That's it. Nothing happens. It's not like I'm not telling you to chop your hand.
Yeah, it's not like it's a irreversible decision.
No,
right?
it's
You
not.
can always go back.
You can always go back. You can always find the safety of beautiful university if that is what your heart really thrives. But how do you know if that is if you don't go out? It's like when people ask me, should I travel? Of course you should travel. Go and travel. Spend all the money in traveling because that experience is like when I said to you, I know how corrosion smells because I've been inside the vessels that are corroded, and I know nobody can explain that to me. Nobody can explain to you an experience that you will have somewhere else. So go and travel.
Unless you live it.
Unless you live it. Go and travel. Go eat. Go talk to locals. Go. And that will make really that. And if it is not your route, you created a company, it didn't work, we'll go back and do something else.
And you know what? You're probably better off for it because there's so many skills you have now built as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I look at the me now and the me a few years ago before I started the business, and the learning curve has been immense, right? So, and then on the flip side of that, nobody can take away your engineering experience as well. Like nobody can ever take away your knowledge of how a corroded vessel smells.
Exactly.
And so it's not like these skills are going to vaporize overnight. And also, I still think I'm doing engineering because it's like at the core of it, it's still problem solving, right?
Totally. And I think we are going in a deeper way because now we embrace who we are instead of trying to fit into a mold that we are not built to. So we are now, like leading with love. And when I say it, oh, it's Monica. Yeah, she's romantic. But all of the other males that have said it, including Martin Luther King Jr. in stage in New York, he was the one that said to a multitude of people, we need to lead with love. And so many other leaders have said it. So absolutely, you can fire someone lovely in a lovely way. You can create those relationships in a lovely way, and then you will have a team that is cohesive, and then that will represent what you want them to represent.
Yeah. And you're setting the tone.
Totally.
Monica, how can people find you and your work? And if they wanted to work with you, how may they go about that?
There is the website, www.infinitygrowth.ca. But there is also the podcast. So we have all the platforms, YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all those things that someone else manages for me because I don't really know. And there is all of those. And we have a weekly newsletter where if we have a podcast, then we have like a little summary of the guests invited. Other than that, we talk about things like materials, integrity, corrosion, leadership, women in STEM, EDI, many things, because we are not just technical people. We are humans.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that there's the melding of the two and not necessarily the binary that sometimes I know as an engineer, I've seen so many situations where people fall into that trap of like, it's either this or it's either that. But no, we're whole human beings and we can be whole.
Absolutely. And the holistic term, I love it. Yeah. Because then once you start looking at anything in a holistic way, you find the solutions.
Absolutely.
So with your health, if you're holistic, then with engineering, if you look at a problem in a holistic way, you might find a solution.
Including the human element. I have one final question for you, which I ask all my guests, which is to complete the sentence, I feel a sense of belonging when?
When I find that I am connected and time passes and I'm not even feeling it, and when I am smiling, and when I feel that I am connecting to the person that I am with.
And I feel like I connected with you today and so appreciate you, Monica, for being here today. Is there anything final or a message that you wanted to share before we close?
Believe in yourself and find what you want to be and be it.
I truly value this moment with you.
And me too. I really appreciate it. And it's a beautiful space, but then having this in-person connection makes it even more valuable.
Totally. And I don't know if I shared this with you before, but that's where I went to university myself, my engineering school. I'm literally looking across from the studio to the building that I did my computer and electrical engineering classes.
That's so cool.
And I never thought that, that was so long ago, but I never thought that would be me sitting here on this side of the building sharing stories. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to just be on this path together, and know that you're not alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that will be the other message. There is the struggles that we all have are not unique. So reach out, silence the ego and reach out to anyone, because we don't need more sick people. We don't need any of those wrong things that happened just because someone didn't know how to lead you or how to co-work with you, lead themselves. It's not many times it's not the person, it's the environment. So
Thank you, Monica.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Hearth to Heart. I'm your host, Gayathri Shukla, founder of Campfire Kinship. If you'd like to learn more about storytelling, come visit campfirekinship.com. If you liked today's episode, hit the subscribe button and join us for future episodes. This podcast is being produced in partnership with CJSW 90.9 in Treaty 7 land in Calgary.